All right, so all right. So like I said, I will do a brief revision of the beginning part of web development, just to bring every one of us to the same page, since we are joining different time. Now, I'll be very fast with that aspect because I know that every one of us here, we are already used to that, but I just want to be sure. Now, we already know what web development is. We know the languages that are involved for developing the front end and the back end. And we are starting with the first language, which is used for developing content and also for creating user interface. Hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm starting with the HTML. Now the HTML is a markup language which is used for creating contents in a website or pages. Now, the HTML determines the structure of your website and how does it achieve that. So it defines the structure of your website with the help of the content. That is why I said it is a markup language which is used for developing web content. Now, if that is understood, so the next thing is for us to understand how does he achieve all this. But before that, the first thing is for us to know how to define our HTML file structure. So to do that, you simply create a project. I'm talking about if you want to start a project, you want to start developing your website. Where are you expected to start from? You start by creating your project folder. So let's say that project folder can be on desktop, it can be in documents. So wherever you want it within your system, you should determine that. But in this case now, I want my project folder to be on desktop. So all I will do is to quickly create or right click an empty space, then go to folder. So from folder, I'll give it a name. So let's assume that I'm using, let's say a class. Let's say the name is web underscore class. So this is assumed to be the client, the root folder of the website I want to develop. So once I have created that first folder, which I am referring to as the root folder, the next thing is for me to open up this folder and create other related folder that will be useful in developing the website. So how do I achieve that? I'll simply double click on the folder I just created and then right click inside it and make other folder. So I need a folder for holding all my images. So I will name it IMG. I also need another folder for holding all my styling code, which is CSS, because as HTML helps me to create the content, I will also like to consult another language, which is called the Cascade Style Sheet language, known as CSS, to help me to determine the presentation of this content HTML will have helped me to create. So I want those codes to be different from my HTML code. So once I have created these two folders, as time goes on, we will also talk about other folders like JavaScript. But for now, we are focusing on just the first two languages, which is the HTML and the CSS. So I just added it, not that it's going to be useful at the moment. So I'm just trying to show us how you can define your project's file structure. So what is the structure we have established here? We have a root folder, which is called web underscore class. Inside it, we have three elements. We have three folders. Now, there is an expectation for each of these folder. There is an intention what we want to actually do with them. We did not just create them. Like I just explained, we created the CSS for storing all our CSS code. We created the IMG for holding all the images that will be used in developing this project. There's JavaScript for holding all the JavaScript file. So once I've done that, the next thing is for me to try as much as possible to have some pictures inside my image. So I will just minimize and go to where I have some picture. Let's assume that I want any of this picture to be inside that folder. So the way it works is that as a developer, you are expected to have gathered your resources, whatever you are going to use to build the website. So all the images that will be involved, you ought to have saved them. In just a minute.
So you turned your, so you went mute. So you went mute. So you went mute.
I'm coming, I know.
Okay, sir.
All right, are you with me now? Hope you can hear me now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go on.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'll try to define our file structure, which is the first thing you need to ensure as a developer. So now I wanted to add some pictures. Let me just add only one for now. Let me just add only one for now. So I'll just copy. So I'll try to say that before you start your project, you need to gather all the resources you need. So part of what you will need while developing the website, you need images. You hardly come across a website without picture. I don't know if any of you have seen a website that is text all through, no single image. Have you seen such a website?
No, sir.
Good. So
Yes, sir.
images are very important. Not just images. You need to sort out for quality pictures that are not blur, pictures that are very clear. All this we have a way of giving the users a good experience, which is the US you are hearing. Now, I've just added an image to my image folder. So the next thing I'm expected to do is to activate or load my IDE. So your IDE is an application which has been created for programmers. So as a web developer, you are a programmer. So this app called IDE, which are called Integrated Development Environment. As a programmer, you need an environment. You need a platform to write your code, whether you are speaking Python, whether you are speaking any programming language, you need a platform. So the IDE we are using for web development, which is one of the most used IDE because it's very light, it does not cause your system to be very slow. It is called Visual Studio Code. So now that we have created our project folder, the next thing is for us to install this folder inside our development environment so that right from that environment, we can access all the resources we have kept inside this folder. So I will just open it. Let's wait for it to open. So now, once you have opened the IDE, the next thing is for you to call in that folder. You go to File. Here, remember where we created our project folder, which is desktop. So I have to select desktop. Then I will now look for that web underscore class. So in case you are unable to find it easily, you can use a keyword to search it out from here, provided you are already in that directory, which is desktop. So the keyword should be web. Once you type web, it will bring out web class. So all you need to do is not to open this folder, just to click on it, just to select it. And the moment you select it, then you should be able to see the name of the item you selected. That is when you can click on select folder. So once I click, it's going to the item inside, and you can see that my file structure has been defined just as we planned it. We have the web class as the root folder, then we have 3 items inside it. So the next thing I am going to do is to create my HTML file. So your HTML file is not designed or meant to be inside any of these subfolder. It's designed to be in the main folder, which is the web. And if you look at the structure, this arrow indicates that right now we are inside this folder, and inside this folder, we have 3 nodes or 3 items, 3 entries. Now, once you ensure that you are inside the main folder, Then, or you can just select an empty space here to view this frame and then navigate to this icon, this one that represents file. Just click on it, and then your first HTML file should be saved with index.html. Now, anything that comes after the dot is called period in programming. And anything that comes after it, you are defining the language extension. The language extension. That is what defines the type of file you are creating. So what I have said here is that the name of my file is index. Then this index file is running on a language called what? HTML. So the moment you type it correctly, you are going to see this angle bracket, which means tag, T-A-G. So the angle bracket represents tag. So once you have seen this icon, then you click anywhere, just click anywhere, then it will automatically establish the file. Prince, are you following?
Yes, sir.
All right. So now we have successfully created HTML file, but the file has no content. There is nothing to display to the users. So, but the next thing we are supposed to do, or which we should do, is to call out HTML simple default document. So HTML have already created simple file that a developer can upgrade, that a developer can increase. So if you don't have that knowledge, it means that you have to start, creating the file from the scratch. But since we are using an advanced editor, so we should know that every advanced editor or IDE is expected to have incorporated HTML simple file. So let me show us how to call that file. All you need to do is to type HT. Once you type HT, it will bring out this option. Then the latest HTML is HTML5. So all you need to do is to click on it. So the moment you click on the HTML5, then it brings out this simple HTML5 structure. So which means that if I don't have this knowledge, what I will have done is to manually type all this code before I can start developing reasonable content. So I want to confirm if it's clear to this point before I proceed. I need a response.
Yes, sir, it is. It is clear.
All right, Flourish, hope you are following. I know this is just like revision, but I just want every one of us to be on the same page. Flourish, can you hear me? Okay, so let's continue. Now, the next thing is for us to define our, okay, let me just explain this simple file so that we'll have an idea of what it represents. So Adibi, we are to create it manually. So we should have an understanding of what each of these line represents. Now, this line represents, or let's say it declares the HTML file. So this actually means that document type is HTML. That is what this line represents, just to give us an idea of what type of document is this. So this is HTML document. Now, it started here and it stops here. Now, the next line, which is the HTML. Now, since you have already declared the document to be HTML as a type, then this is where you started writing your HTML. If you look carefully, you will notice that the tag opens here and then it closes here. So you need to understand what is called tag. Tags are like the building block we use. So for example here, just to illustrate what tag is. If you, let's say we have something like this. We have something like this. So this is, and then the closing tag is just, so this is just the tag syntax. So which simply means that from here is called opening tag, while here is the closing tag. So the difference between the opening tag and the closing tag is the presence of this forward slash. So whatever that comes in between it is what the user will see on the browser whenever they log into that website. So I just want us to understand the concept around HTML tag. Now, let's go back to our IDE and explain that. So from what I just explained to you now, it means that this is the opening section of the HTML tag, and this is the closing section. Did you understand that? Please, I need a response. Did you get that?
Yes, sir.
So which means that this HTML here is a container, and inside the container, you now wrap all this. They are all inside the HTML tag. So that is what it means. Now, here, head. This head represents the meta information. So the meta information are usually used to describe, to give information about the HTML document. For example, we have 3 tags inside the head tag. So from the code structure that I just explained to you in my PowerPoint slide, it also means that this head is another container, right? Can anybody
Yes, sir.
answer? So how many items do we have in the head container?
3.
3. Good. Now, let me continue. Thank God that you are getting it. Now, this meta character set, the UTF-8, represents Unicode transform formatting. Unicode transform formatting. Now, as the name implies, character set. Character set. Now, it means that if you hover on it, is an attribute. Is an attribute, that's that this attribute declares the page character encoding. It must contain a standard. So in summary, there are certain characters that are recognized when it comes to programming. So some are classified under UTF-8, while the others are classified under UTF-16. But for web developer, we use UTF-8. Then for app developer, they use UTF-16. So all these are character. When I say encoding, that is in the past, our programming or web developer forefather came together to look at a set of characters that can be displayed across all types of browser. So they group them, that particular discovery, they target UTF-8. Another discovery for app development, they target UTF-16. So Unicode, which means that what? A character that everybody that is unified. Good. Is that clear to you so that I can explain the next one?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Now, the next one, which is still an element inside the head, is the name, is the meta, which constitutes name, content. Now, remember that all this, like character set, is an attribute. And attributes provide additional information about HTML tag. Now, this name is an attribute that is giving us more information about this tag. Now, what this meta here, the whole of this line, it actually determines the laptop view responsiveness of your website. That is by default. That's the reason why whatever we are creating is responsive to laptop and probably tablet system, but it's not responsive to mobile phone. And that is why we are to learn Bootstrap as part of the package for mobile responsiveness. So this very line is to give us computer responsiveness. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, the title, define the title for your document. For example, as a developer, you ought to have installed a server. The essence of that server is to allow you to always preview, to preview your websites, whatever, because this is just like the back end. So whatever you are developing here, the browser, the server will help you to output it on a browser to give you an idea on how the content will be presented to the users. So you cannot just keep developing without finding out how these content are going to be presented to the users. So that will now take us to, if I am to check what we have done so far, so that you can see where this document comes in. So you ought to have gone to this extension and probably install Live Server. So if you have not installed Live Server, you kindly search it out here and then you click on it. But I've already installed mine, and that is why it's showing here. If I have not installed it, it wouldn't have been listed here. So let me go back to my file here. Then all you need to do to view the front end of the website you are developing, just right click anywhere within the HTML document and then navigate to open with Live Server, and that will prompt your content to a browser and then show you what you have developed so far. Now, as you can see that what is showing here, please, can you respond to me? What is showing here?
Documents.
Document. Now, why this place is showing document, it is because here, because of the title. So your website must have a descriptive title, a title that actually describes the location. So all I need to do is to update this title, because somebody logging into my website and seeing document does not really give him or her any sense of where the person is, because document does not really describe any type of service, just like a general name. So it is better that your title should have a way of telling the user where they are, whether they have gotten to a particular location. Now, if this website is for Digitech Zeal, what I'm going to do, I will simply say, welcome. Welcome, just like when somebody visits you, the first thing you tell the person is what? Welcome to my house. And so that they will feel encouraged. Now, welcome to, let's say, Digitech Zeal Hub. So now my Live Server is automatically saving. Now, but remember, you must have gone to File and set your file on auto save, so that whatever you are programming will be saving into the browser automatically. So if this is not activated, you need to quickly do that. Then once you have ensured that, then if I want to view the updates, all I need to do, if I have not run that particular Live Server before, then I have to go through it again and click on it. But because I have run it before, I don't need to right click again. I will just switch back to the browser, and then you see that what? is updated. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So Flourish, are you following now?
Yes, sir.
All right. So now that is for that. But you will also notice that nothing is showing on the browser body section. We are only getting updates at the browser word title. Why? Because you have not written anything inside the body. So this is the opening tag of the body. Then this is the closing tag of the body. So you have not programmed anything here. That is the reason why there is nothing displaying here. So that takes us to, I want to program here, welcome to Digitex Z or about Digitex Z, for example. So how do I do that? You make sure that you are in the body. Don't write it inside any other tag except body. Then you use a tag. Now, that brings us to knowing what a tag is. As a developer, you need to understand that tag, they are like the building block. When an engineer wants to build a house, what do they use to mold first to form the shape of the building? Can anybody respond to that question?
There is foundation now.
No. When engineer, the so-called architectural, when they want to build a house, what did they put together to form the shape of the room that you are in right now? I believe both of you are inside one.
Okay, it's block.
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 Good. Now, those blocks,
Block.
good. Those blocks formed what? The shape of the building, right?
Yes.
Now, in web development, HTML has its own blocks. So each time you want to create content, you have to consult the right block. So it's not like the building block where all blocks are the same, despite that they are forming the building shape. In HTML, there are blocks that are designed for different content addition. For example, what we want to achieve is that we want to program, we want to create a content that says what? About Digitex Z or about us. So it is now left for you as HTML programmer to identify which block is responsible for creating title, because what we are about to create now is title. So there are tags for creating title. So I will use comment to explain some of the things as I continue coding. And how do I activate comment? To activate comment, just simply hold down the control button on your keyboard, press it down, and then locate where you have /. Once you press it, it will activate comment. Comment in programming, they are not executable. They are just for code interpretation. That is what we achieve with comment. Now, the reason why I created that comment is to explain to you and I what we are doing, not to explain anything to the program. So HTML does not recognize this as a live code that it needs to execute for user. So now what do I want to do? I will say HTML heading tags. That is what we are discussing now, HTML heading tags, which means that we are talking about certain blocks, certain keywords that are always in the bracket. A tag is a keyword or any word that is surrounded by the angle bracket. We refer to that as what? Tags. Now, if I ask you now, I want to verify this body now, is it a tag?
Yes, it is.
Now, this one, is it a tag?
Yes, it is.
Good. But is this one a tag?
Is in between a tag.
How do we refer to it?
Heading tag.
If it is not a tag, is either you accept that is a tag or not. If you are saying it's not a tag, so how do we what do we describe it to be?
Yes, sir. I said it's in between a tag.
Good, but there should be a professional word for referring to what you have in between.
Anchor tag.
No, content. So if I go to my PowerPoint now, you see whatever you have here, they are referred to as what? Content. Sometime, let me use the word visible content. Visible. So you notice that when we outputted it on the browser, it is what we have in between the title that the user accesses, right?
Yes.
But the user are not seeing, let me go back to the ID. The user are not seeing this. They are not seeing this. They are only seeing what? What you have in between what? The tag. That
The
is why
tag.
we refer to it as what? Content. Now we have 6 different HTML tag for creating headings. So if I'm to create another comment just to list them for us, we have H1, we have H2, we have H3, we have H4, we have H5, and then we have what? H6.
H6.
So which means that anytime I want to create heading, like we want to do here now, we want to create a heading that says about us. It is now left for me to either consider using H1 or what? H2 or what? H3.
H3.
So now in this case, we are using H1. So I will simply type H and then add 1 to it and then press enter. So it will bring it out. Now, what did I say I want to program? About us. Now, if I am to check whether my browser have updated this, just go back to the page. You see that what? We have updated what? About us to this page. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. So if you say you are joining with your laptop, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'll give you 10 minutes to get to this stage.
Yes, sir.
What you do now, I'll stop sharing. You know how to share your screen. I want to be seeing what you are doing.
Yes, sir. I can share my screen, but it is that my laptop, it will be showing me a notification about me clearing some of the open app because of the video quality and other things.
Okay. But you can share, right?
Yes, sir, I can share, but my laptop will start lagging.
Okay, so we should just continue. Maybe later you take time to go through the video and take it as an assignment, right?
Yes, sir.
I just hope that it will not be too much. That is why I said you should practice, but there's no problem. This is more level of revision. I don't think we have gotten to the areas that you will be having issue. But since you are recording, you can go through it later. Now, so we have just added what? About us. So the next thing I want to create is I want to explain something about this, about us. I want to say so when you say about us or about a particular company. So there is need for you to provide an explanation. What are these people into? What service did they render? So that is the next content I want to create. So I will now use paragraph tag, which is P tag. Just type P, I press enter, and that will bring it out. Now, ordinarily, I am supposed to have received profile information about the organization, either in soft copy or hard copy, which my role as a developer is to either copy and paste it in between the P opening tag and the P closing tag. But since we don't have any write-up, or I can just say digit Z Zeal is an IT an IT training platform. So if I go back to my front end, you see I have my content here. So now the next thing I want to do, now ordinarily, supposing I don't have enough information and just for debugging, I just want to clarify certain things, I can ask the editor to create some words for me, which are going to be random words, but they might not be English word, but just for me to have more voluminous content to describe the organization. So you will just use what we call Lorem. So this Lorem helps you to write tests just for debugging purpose. Now, you need to also specify the number of words you want it to write for you. Let's assume I want it to write 200 words for me. I will attach it without spacing between the lorem and the number, and then press enter. Now, if I go to the back front end, you see that it has composed not less than 5 to 6 lines of document for me, just for me to be practicing with. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. So the next content I want to show us before we go to the CSS aspects of this is the next content is an image. So how do I add an image? How do I add an image? Let's assume that I want to back this explanation up with picture, because like they say, in most cases, pictures speak louder than text. So if somebody log into your website and see an active picture, a picture that's looking at the picture is speaking your services, it will easily give the person or pass your information across faster. So now that takes us to another HTML tag that can be used to publish images in a website. So like I told you, anytime you want to add a content, you need to look for the right block, which we are calling what? Tag. So far, so good. We have been able to learn how many tags now. There's a tag that produced this. What's the name of the tag?
Heading tag.
Now, which tag produced the whole of this content?
Paragraph.
Good. Now we are about learning another tag, which is for creating images. So on that tag, I want to have very good code formatting. So let me just see if I can. Okay, I don't know whether we still have it there. Let me check. Okay, still there. You can see that the text is much. So let me break it at this point. All right, so I'll create my image tag img. Just simply type img. Now, image tag is a special tag. It's not like other tag. So you need to understand how it works. Now, when you are dealing with this tag, you need to specify the source. Where is the image located? Where will this tag fetch the image from? Remember, that was the reason why I added what? This image here. So which means that you are to define the image parts inside here. So how do you reference the image that's inside this image folder. Just type / inside /. Once you type it, to call out all the items inside your root folder. Then from there, you can easily navigate to the particular folder that have the item you are looking for, which is this image. Now, another attribute that we need to understand how it works is this alternative text. Supposing for any reason the image could not display in a web page, what would the user see? Let's say the user should see profile underscore image. It can be any name. And this name will display where the image could not display. Now let's go to our front end and check. So successfully, we have been able to what? To add an image what? Tag. Any question? Any question?
No.
sir.
Okay. Now, let's deliberately cause this image not to display, just to confirm whether it's going to display this. So let me remove this G, because that will make the image not to show. Can you see it now? Now, the moment
Yes.
anything goes wrong with the image, it will call what? The alternative
Keeper.
text. So let's return the image back, Ctrl Z. Now, the next thing as a developer we need to learn is the CSS. The CSS. Now, everything I have should also far falls under which language?
HTML. Index in HTML.
Which language did we use to create all this content?
HTML.
HTML, right?
Yes, sir.
So with what we have done so far now, I think you can now agree with me that HTML, it is used for, is a markup language for creating content in website, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, we are talking about user interface design, which we know today as US what? Sorry, UI and what? US. I believe you have been, hearing UI US, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
UI UX designer, a developer that specializes on front-end design, is a UI and UX what? Designer.
Design.
Anybody that creates user interface, an interface that user can explore, is a what? User interface designer. So now the US there, the US represents user
experience.
which means that as you are creating your user interface, it should be well structured. It should be, attractive so that the user can be happy. So whenever a user visits a website and they are happy with the way you arrange, you style your content, then automatically you have given them what? That expected experience. Now, for us to achieve that user interface experience, we need to involve another language called CSS. It's the language that helps us to style. It's the language that helps us to determine the presentation of this content to the user in a professional way, because HTML is not actually presenting them good. Or can you pay somebody? How much do you think you can pay somebody to give you this kind of website?
I think $3,500.
$3,500. That is much. What I'm saying now is that if somebody create this kind of website for you, just with HTML, it doesn't style it, how much will you pay the person?
Okay, $500.
$500. Flourish, how much will you pay the person? I know Flourish, no money. This guy knows having money.
He's just a talking dollars.
As if he's not in Nigeria.
I tell you.
So,
Hey.
how much will you give
Sir?
in terms of naira?
supposing
In terms of naira,
somebody
if
give
somebody just type for you using only this thing, I think you should give the person like 50,000.
50,000, you guys are trying. No, me, I'll give the person 1,000. I'll give the person 1,000. What has he done? These things are not.
It did copy paste.
Okay, this copy paste.
Uh,
No, what I'm saying is that the website is not well organized. It's not well styled. So this cannot give users good what? Experience. So I just said that so that we'll know why CSS should be involved. It is CSS that actually do the coloring, the restructuring, the styling, the presentation, and then at the end of the day, somebody will log into the web page and be smiling. So now I am done with the assignment of HTML for today, and then I want to shift my focus towards CSS. So at least we have the content now. We have paragraph, we have image. Let's see how we can style them to look more readable and presentable. So that takes us to CSS. So what is CSS? What is CSS? Who can tell us the full meaning of CSS?
Cascade Style Sheet.
Cascade Style Sheet. Good. It is a styling what? Language. Which
that used to beautify
good.
your content.
I know, say lady, they know how to describe CSS because CSS now. Now, guys, they use describe HTML, but lady, they know how because let's bring it to their own terms. CSS is the makeup what? Artists. They are the one that do make up our HTML content. They are the beautifiers. They are the beautifiers. So that is a simple way to understand CSS. Prince, are you with us? Prince, are you here? I wanted to confirm if he's following. Prince, are you with us?
It's there.
Okay. I just want to confirm. Prince, can you hear me? I know
it has gone up.
Network issue. That is how your was.
Network does start again.
Okay, let's give him some minutes so that he can join back.
Okay. I thought it was only me network was disturbing.
You have transferred the symptom now.
I just entered phone. I started using phone instead of system.
Let's give it some. Okay, we join back.
Okay, sir.
Okay, I think he's back now. Prince, can you hear us now? Prince, are you with us? Like the network is still disturbing him. Can you hear us? I hope we were following when we were explaining the CSS, right?
So I was not part of the CSS. My connection went off.
Okay, so she told us that the full meaning of CSS is Cascade Style Sheet. Did you get that?
Yes, sir.
Cascade Style Sheet. So that is the full meaning of CSS. Cascade what? Style Sheet. Now, I said it is a styling language. It is just like a subordinative language, a language that assists us to beautify our HTML content, just like we have created
three different content. We are not okay with the way HTML is presenting them. So we need to consult CSS to help us rearrange them, to help us restructure them for better presentation and readability. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. So now let's quickly talk about the methods of applying CSS. So I will refer to that as CSS addition methods. CSS addition method. Now, what do we mean by this? What we are simply saying is that how do we communicate? How do we attach these styles on each of these elements? How do we reference them? How do we connect the CSS to the HTML? That is what we mean by what? The CSS what? Addition method. So there are three ways. There are three ways we can actually communicate CSS to our HTML content. So tonight I will work with one. The next class I'll pick another one. Probably the next class I'll pick another one until we are familiar with what the three of them. So I will start with the more advanced method. Now, there is what we call external CSS addition. External CSS addition, which simply means that your HTML file is totally separated from your CSS file. And that was the reason why we created this folder. So anytime you have a dedicated folder like this in your file structure, it means that you have planned to work with external CSS. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, if you are working with external CSS, it means that the first thing we need to do is for us to create the CSS file because we have already created the HTML file. So how do I create the CSS file? I will click on the arrow to make sure that it's facing down. Now, once that arrow faces down, it means that right now you are in what element here?
In CSS.
You are in CSS. Once you have ensured that, you now navigate to this icon, and then you need to know which of the HTML file you are creating the CSS to style. We are creating the CSS to style what?
The index.
Good. So I'll give it that name. After all, the extension will differentiate them. So instead of doing .html, I will do what?
.css.
.css, which means that you should know the icon. This hash is the symbol of what? CSS. Why this icon is the symbol of HTML. Now you click outside. Now we are now in CSS file. So you can always toggle from one to another. You can see it. Now, the next thing I am going to do is to make sure that this file is visible to this file, because the essence of this file is to style things that are inside this file. So both of them must be what? Connected, because you refer to this as what? External. Prince, are you following?
Yes, sir.
All right. So now you don't connect HTML from the CSS file. You connect to CSS from the HTML. So you go to your HTML file, then go inside the head section. Go inside the head section and type link. Then press enter. Then to provide you this tag. Now inside the hyper reference, you // that will also pull out all the items inside the main folder. So from there, you already know which one contains your CSS file, right?
Yes, sir.
Which one are we going into out of this item?
Index HTML.
No?
No, the CSS.
We are going to CSS to access CSS file.
We are going for the CSS.
Good. Now, what it means
so
is
that we can link the two.
Good. Now, what it means is that right now, whatever CSS code I'm writing here, then once I select HTML element, the CSS will go and style it, right?
Yes.
So then the next thing we need to know is, I'm using that same comment, control and / to explain what I want to talk about now. Now, once you have been able to create the two file and connected the two file, the next thing is for you to declare your CSS syntax. Now, what we mean by CSS syntax? Syntax in programming, they are set of rules that governs that language writing of code. So every programming language have their own syntax. If you are working with Python, it has its own syntax. If you are working with C++, it has its own syntax. Now, when we say CSS syntax, just like the way we were talking about HTML tag, where I told you that in HTML tag, 90% of tag, you see opening session, you see content part, you see the closing tag. Now that we are in CSS, how do we write the code? The syntax. The syntax is that there must be HTML selector. Let me still use comment to explain this. So the first syntax is what? HTML what? Selector. Now, what does this HTML selector mean? It means selecting. Let me break it down this way. Selecting or referencing HTML elements. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, there are 3 methods we can use at this level to call what is here. Now, let me break it down. What we are saying is that while you are here, you must pick the element you are talking to. For example, now, if I want to talk to this, then I must select it in CSS as, I will say H1. Are you following? So the moment I type H1, it means that out of all these elements, which one are we intending to style?
H1.
They're about us.
Good. Now, so this session is the HTML what? Selector. This is how you are referencing what is in this file that you want to probably style with some CSS properties. Now, there are terms you need to understand when you are speaking each of these languages. When we were in HTML, our popular terms were HTML, attributes, tags, right? Now, in CSS, your popular terms will be properties, value, HTML selector, property, value. Now, there is what we call declaration block. Declaration block is this braces brackets, which we achieve with this. Did you see this bracket? This coil, yes. This coiling brass, or this coiling braces bracket. It is used to declare the block. It's called declaration block, which means that you have selected HTML element. Now, what are the CSS properties that will transform it? You declare all of them inside that block. Now, for example, I want color. So the best thing to do to have proper code formatting, just press enter and type color. So color is a CSS property. Now, just like the way I told us that in HTML tag, we have the opening tag and we have what? The closing tag. In CSS, we have property. This column separates the property from the value. So whatever that comes in here is the value. Now you just call color as a property. What type of color do you want? Is it red? You type it there. Now this semicolon is like the closing tag in HTML. This is what determines the end of one property. which means that if I want to write the next property, I am expected to come after that semicolon and press enter, not to continue inside it. Is that clear to us?
Yes, sir.
Now, let's go to the front end and check whether there's communication. Is there any changes?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, we have just communicated color to what? To this HTML content. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to change it to capital letter and then probably bring it to the center if I want, since my body content run across the entire page. So I have to examine as a user interface designer. I need to be asking myself certain questions that if I position this header here, is it better looking at the structure with other information, or I should bring it here? So these are the things you need to consider. And then you need to also be checking how it's going to probably display on phone, which I said that will be application of Bootstrap. Now, but ordinarily, while I am developing, if I want to have an idea on how it's going to display to user, I am expected to right click and then go to what? Inspect, which every developer should be conscious of. So you can see how it's going to be displayed to users. Now I can just click on this icon so that I can move from one device to another. So here I can decide to say, let me check how it's going to display on iPhone Pro 12 Pro. This is how your website will display. Or let me check how it's going to display on this device. So while you are developing, you can be testing some of the responsiveness. Now, I will just click here to cancel, to go back to my proper view. Hope you got that aspect. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So the next thing, like I said, we want to make this capital letter all true. So I go back to my CSS. I am still on that H1. So there's no need of me creating another H1. All I will do is just to come to where the first property ends and declare the next property for different transformation. So which is test transform. That is the property name to change case from capital letter to lowercase and all of that. So what we need is what? Uppercase. Then I'll check again. So you can see I have achieved that. Now it appears that the size is a little bit too big. So let's reduce it. And that will take us to another CSS property declaration with another property, which is called fonts size. Font size. And then these are some preset font sizes, but you can decide to use your own. Let's say I want to use 18 PS. And then check. So I think this is better. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now I want to quickly go to the next item. But if I want background color, which I don't want, but let me just show us in case you want to practice with it. You can also call what? Background color. Then you need to calculate your color as a web developer. Now, if you check now, you have what? Black, but I don't need it. I am okay with the white background. So what will I do? In case I want to call it back, let me temporarily comment it out by highlighting it, holding down the control button and /. So for now, I don't want it. So let me quickly style this. I want to see how I can style the three of them before we end this session, though we are supposed to close by now, but let's see if we can add like 10 minutes. Now, I want to quickly talk to this paragraph section because I'm not satisfied with the presentation. So I want CSS to enhance it. So that is another element. So you cannot continue talking to that paragraph inside what? H1. So I have to go back here and step out from this and type P. That is the selection now. And then open your calling bracket. And then what do I want there? Font size. I want to increase the font size to like 18 PS. Let me see what whether what we have there. So you can see that it increases a little, right? Are you with me? Are you following?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let me make it 20 so that we can,
Yes, sir.
so that we can have a better view. So let's see. Okay. Now I want to change the color. If I'm not okay with that black, I want to change the color to sometime. If you have used that property, you can copy it from wherever you must have used it. And then all you need to do is just to edit it. Now, the one I want is not red, so I will just click on this icon and then navigate to where the color I want to use. Then click here to pour the color in the bucket and then pick from the part you want. Automatically, it generates RGB, red, green, blue color for you. And so with that, I have gotten the color. So the next thing I want to style is the image. The image, I want like 2 of them, not one covering the entire page. So what I'm going to do is to first of all go back to my HTML and duplicate this. Right click on it, copy it. If you have another image, what you will have done is to clear this place and call it. But since we have just one, let's work with this one. So if you scroll down, you see that you have 2 images. Now, what I actually want to achieve before we close for tonight is that I want half of this. So that one will start from here, end here. The other will start from here. 2 of them will be placed side by side. So that is what I want to achieve. So the next thing, I'll go to my CSS and reference them as what? IMG. So from here, I step out from the initial selector and then I call their general name, which is what? IMG. Then open my bracket. I will simply do width. Width currently is 100%. So I will just say width 50%. Or let me use pixel. I can say give me width of 500 PS. And then the height should be equivalent to that same width so that you don't have disfigured image. So since the width is 500 pixel, now let the height be, since the image by default is a landscape image, so let me make the height to be like 400 PS. So let's go and check whether we have 2 of them. Good. So we have 2 of them placed side by side. Are we following? So random.
Yes, sir.
All right. But one more challenge before we close. You can see that the space you have here is not the same with the space you have in your your left margin. So in web development, this is not professional. It shows that you don't know how to structure your content. You are not a good user interface designer. And it also shows that you don't have content. So the best thing I'm going to do is to create some space between them. This space is too small. I want more space here. So what I'm going to do, while I'm still inside the same selector, I will say margin. I will say margin. Now, I did not say margin left or margin right because I want that same amount of space to go around the images. So I will just say I need a space of 20 PS. So let's go and check. So you can see that I have this 20 PS here, 20 PS here, 20 PS here. So it's just that we still have extra space here. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to see how I can position these 2 images, how I can position these 2 images at the center of this page. So what I'm going to do is to find a way of identifying this one uniquely from this, so that if I am pushing this, it will be pushing the second one, or I wrap both of them in a div. So I can come like this and call a div, which is more professional way of doing what we wanted to do. Then cut this one from here, bring it under it, which means that these 2 items, they are inside which container? Quick response, please.
Yeah.
Good. Now, div by default takes 100% width. So if you push the div margin, it will not go because just like it's already touching both walls. So the first thing I'm going to do
I will class this div because I may use another div as I continue with my development. So let me call this one div1. So because it's a class item, I will go to my CSS and reference it as a class element. So let me use comment to explain it. So class elements. So what I'm going to do, since it's a class element, I must start with dots before that name, div1. Then open my bracket. And then I will first of all say width, since it's currently a block element, which take the full width of your web page by default, we reduce it to like 70%. I would say reduce yourself from that 100% you are currently on towards. So you can see that as soon as I do that, what happened? It returned this image to the to display block, because the two images were displaying what? Inline before. Now the reason is that the remaining 70% is not enough to display those two images. So which means that I have to increase the percentage to, let me just make it 90 or 85. Let me try 85% and check. So 85 is enough to display the two images inline. So now I will now float. I will now move the container, the div1, to the center of the page. Definitely, there is no way you are going to move the div that is not going to move what? The two items, because they are wrapped inside what? That div. Am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
Good. So the idea of what I'm doing is that instead of me moving this one, I just wrap both of them in a container. Then it is now the container that I will be talking to. So I'll go back to the container and say margin. I will not say margin left. Then I will use what? Auto. That will automatically what? Place them at the middle. Any question? Because this is where we draw the curtain for tonight. Question quickly.
So please, if you want to copy, like what control do you, like you want to copy a particular code, like what shortcut is available?
Okay, let's say you want to copy this now. You want to make it 3 images.
Yes.
So you highlight it and press Ctrl+C to copy. And then you go to the next space where you want to paste it, Ctrl+V to paste.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions so that we can hand up? Flourish.
Okay, so I have another question.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So from what you said, a company will have to give you either a software, so a soft copy or hard copy of their business, write-off. Okay, so if it's a soft copy in the computer system, will you have to just simply copy it inside your?
Now, yes. Now look at it here. Let's assume that we search for about Digitech. Digitech. And if I'm correct, Digitech Z. Let's say I search for this and it brings out our website. This is our website. So if I click here now, the company must have given you the soft copy, but now it's taking us to our website. So this is our website. So from here now, if for example, I'm in the home page, that is where we are now. And let's say I want to take this information. I want to take this information and then copy it, just like what you asked now. So this is how they will have sent it to you, either in Microsoft Word. You understand? Then
Yes,
once you open your paragraph tag like this, once you open your paragraph tag, I want to delete. So once you open your paragraph tag like this, inside
this section between the opening tag and the closing tag, you paste Ctrl V. So if I go to the front end now, you see that what we are seeing now is what? The soft copy. So if it was given to you, either through Microsoft Word or notebook, or notepad, you copy it and paste it. I believe I've answered your question.
Okay, but if it's hard copy, you just have to type everything out.
You have to type it. You have to type it. You have no choice. You have to type it. So that will.
So what if you want to change the font? Like you don't want to use the same right?
Yes. Yes. What you do
like
is
you want to.
You want
to change it so that it will be in another font. You don't want it in this this. I forgot what they call it.
Oh, that is the handwriting now.
Yes, the handwriting.
And now all you need to do is to identify the elements that generated it, which is what? The P tag, right?
The P tag, yes.
Go back to your CSS and call font family. Font family. Then you choose your font here, or if you have it in mind, if you know the font you want to call, you can just call it. And then by the time you go to the front end, you have changed what? The font.
Okay.
Is that all?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so see you guys in the next class. I will update you guys in the group. So your assignment is for you to get to this place. Once you have done it, snap it and send it in the group. You can use another image, but I want this layout. I want 2 pictures to be at the center about us and the right up like this. So once you have submitted, I will schedule the next class.
Okay, sir.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Yes,
good night, sir.